welcome tonight. So happy to see so many familiar faces as well as faces that we don't know. How many people in the room are Osteo Strong members? Wow.
Great.
Lots of you. Well, great to have you, and really great to see the faces of people that I don't know. For anyone who has not ever been here, this is Osteo Strong, and we are a wellness center focusing on strengthening the foundation of the body, the skeletal system. And we have 4 pieces of proprietary equipment that we put you in your optimal position to exert a very high amount of force in order to strengthen the skeletal system, and it triggers the brain to stimulate the growth of new bone and muscle. And it's based on science from the 1800s, Wolff's Law, and it's called osteogenesis. And so what we see are people like one of our members who's in the room tonight who just had her bone density scan done, and she's gone from osteoporosis to osteopenia in 4.5 months, which is super exciting. We have people like another one of our members' husbands whose back is no longer hurting, and Robert and my backs who are no longer hurting. So just incredible amounts of strength and elimination of joint and back pain. So we'd love to invite any of you who have not been here before to come in for a complimentary session. And I really am so excited to have Dr. Dawn Desylvia here tonight. We started to do what we're calling StrongTalks, which will continue throughout the year, bringing in people that we really respect in the community, in the health, wellness space. And Dr. Dawn is an MD, but specializes in integrative health and functional medicine, which she'll tell you a lot more about. But she has been practicing for 15 years, was at UCLA, and now has her own integrative health center. I am actually a patient, full disclosure. But what I really love is the idea of taking the allopathic world and being an MD, and also looking at the holistic approach to how to heal the body as opposed to just looking at symptomology. So we're so grateful to have you here. Thank you, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Welcome, everybody. I'm so glad you guys came out. Before I went into medicine, I read something that was called Crossing the Quality Chasm, and it was written about 20 years ago, and it said, between the type of healthcare that we have and the type of healthcare that we could have exists not a gap, but a chasm. And I am saddened to say that 20 years later, that chasm still exists. And even before I went into medicine, I knew that the model of healthcare that most of us are getting in our primary care offices and our families and our friends are getting is a very outdated model of care. And the science that we have and the information that we have about what keeps us healthy and strong, and also what we can do once disease develops, is so much broader than what we're being told by our medical doctors. So I really, and what Sarah and Robert are doing here at Osteo Strong is just so much needed as part of the change, because it's not going to happen within the institutions. It's going to happen in communities. It's going to happen by us sharing together what really makes a difference in our health and making an impact on the system. So just by a show of hands, how many people know what functional medicine is? So not uncommon. It wasn't until my last year in residency that I had ever heard of functional medicine. And up until that point, even though I knew I wanted to be part of this bridge, for me, integrative medicine was always just Eastern and Western medicine. But what we know, integrative medicine is actually traditional Western medicine, but not just Eastern medicine. There's so many other bodies of wisdom: Ayurvedic medicine, homeopathy, energy medicine, biologic medicine. Now there's technology medicine. I mean, there's so much more than just Eastern and Western medicine that's under the umbrella of integrative medicine that I practice. And then the term functional medicine comes from the concept that years before a disease develops, there's dysfunction that happens in the body. And Western medicine really waits till, I say it looks at the tip of the iceberg. It waits until something really serious has happened, and then it either cuts it out or medicates it or says, we don't know what to do with it. And I get to see all those patients, which is really rewarding because, again, the science that we know about how to detect early on what contributes to disease and then intervene from a wide tool base just greatly reduces people's disease risks. I tell people it's never going to 100% ameliorate it, but we can greatly reduce it. And then also, once disease develops, we can trace it back. Instead of just treating the branches of the tree, the symptoms, functional medicine goes back and says, well, what was that dysfunction that started? What was the imbalance that started? We do histories all the way back to, were you C-sectioned, how it was your mother's emotional life like. We know that our emotional lives have just as important of impact on our health as the physical things. So functional medicine really gives us a greater ability to detect disease early on, keep people healthy and strong, and then also treat it once it's arisen. So tonight I'm going to talk to you guys about the 3 most important things I think you need to stay healthy and strong. And interestingly enough, you can find elements of all of them here at Osteo Strong. So I'll weave that through my talk tonight. And then I'll make sure to leave time for questions in the end. So the first thing is we need foundational core health and strength. The second one is mindful and intelligent use of our technology. And the third one is we have got to start playing more. We've got to have more fun. We've got to enjoy this ride more. It's way too hard not to be smelling the flowers as we go. And that is something, especially in this town, and our lives have become so busy, and our technology has placed so many demands on us that we have really lost the art of enjoying our journey, of knowing how to pause and appreciate things. And so I'll talk about the importance of these and some tools about how to do this more in our lives. So the first one, foundational core strength and wellness. So again, functional medicine really addresses this. So we know that disease breeds in an environment of inflammation. And we use basic science principles about what inflames our biology. And again, I tell patients that we want to listen to the body when it whispers to us, not when it's screaming. And Western medicine, I can't, and I'm sure all of you have had situations or know people who have had situations where someone's going to the doctor time and time again, telling them something's going on, and they're like, your blood work looks fine, there's nothing wrong. And then, 2 years later, something really serious happens. And so again, using the most up-to-date science and advanced testing, we can detect things much earlier on and intervene better. So what we know inflames the body from just a purely scientific biological standpoint is chronic infections so our immune system is really key to our health. And if our immune system is stressed by things, then it is not going to serve us and it can turn back on ourselves. So we're seeing a lot more autoimmune diseases. Thyroid is on the rise, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's, eczema, all these are autoimmune diseases. So chronic infections like Lyme and mold and parasites and Epstein-Barr, these are bugs that we're all exposed to. And they're not inherently really dangerous bugs. The flu is a much more dangerous bug than Lyme is, actually. But you hear about all these terrible stories, of celebrities and different people and, every people from walks of life being crippled by Lyme. And what is happening is the body's immune system has become so confused and so overwhelmed with other inflammatory stressors that it's not able to properly deal with the bugs that it should deal with. And so that's really important to detect. Microbes in the body, toxins. So this is something that's not talked about. They don't teach us this at school, and they don't, except for an amazing dentist in the audience tonight, Dr. Rashtian. A lot of dentists don't talk to their patients about the importance of mercury in their mouth or mercury in their fish. And what we know is there was a study actually published by JAMA, one of the leading medical journals, in 2013, and it was funded by the National Institute of Health, looking at people who had heavy metal built up inside of their body had either a heart attack or a stroke, had a 50% reduction in any subsequent events if they had those heavy metals removed from the body. Why isn't every cardiologist on the planet or in America testing people for heavy metals? Why aren't we teaching our dentists in dental school, get the mercury out of your mouth? I mean, these things influence our biology, create inflammation, and it's not just heart disease and strokes. That was what the study focused on, but we know it can affect all the organs of our body, and it greatly impairs our gut and our detox pathways, which are really vital. So toxins, chronic infections, allergies are another big one. Food sensitivities. So a lot of people say, I was skin tested and I didn't test positive for anything. And skin testing is just one part of our allergy system. There's many different parts of our immune system that can be activated around things that we're sensitive to and create a smoldering environment of inflammation. So I take allergies really seriously. To me, allergies are the body's whispering to us. And when your immune system is preoccupied going after pollen or other things that aren't really that dangerous, it's then not available to fight the more serious bugs, to keep the Lyme and the mold at bay like it's supposed to. And it's also, our immune system surveys our body for cancer cells. So we really need an intelligently functioning immune system. So toxins, microbes, allergens, stress. So I tell people the same chemical environment that exists in your body when you have the flu or have been in a car accident is the same chemical environment when you're angry, sad, lonely, or scared. And so we need to do a better job at supporting the emotional, mental, spiritual aspect of our lives. And it's just, again, we're such a doer culture. And there's a perception that emotions will make us weak, that they won't allow us to be as high functioning as we need to be. And one of my meditation teachers has a wonderful quote. Her name is Joan Halifax, and she actually started her work with Joseph Campbell in the 70s as a medical anthropologist, and then had a whole nother life and then became a Zen Buddhist nun and has this beautiful center in New Mexico called Upaya, which means the skillful way. And she says, I think we have it all backwards. She says, I think we should have abs of jello and spines of steel. So and I find that so applicable across being here at Osteo Strong, functional medicine, and what she's talking about, because we're walking around as a society so guarded and so scared, and we don't have a strong backbone. We don't have a strong foundation because there's just so much fear around. And so we're not living open-heartedly. We're not extending to our neighbors the compassion and the care that would really feed us as a community and fortify our health. And so similarly, in functional medicine, if we have a strong foundation, if we have an environment that is as minimally inflammatory as humanly possible, and we're going to be more resilient because there's going to be winds, there's going to be storms. You don't get to be a human being and not have loss and not have heartbreak or fall or get sick. Something is going to happen. The goal of modern medicine and functional and integrative medicine is not to make us immune to these things that are part of our humanity, but it's to make us more resilient. It's to help us recover better. It's to help us age more gracefully. So, and then the amazing analogy that I thought about with OsteoStrong is that you have this equipment that's actually, what she said, in 4 months, Western medicine, our drugs can't even come close to that, going from osteoporosis to osteopenia. And so what's amazing is that when one part of your body gets strong, it sends a signal to every other cell in your body. This is what being strong looks like. This is what being strong feels like. So coming here and getting your bones strong isn't just getting your bones strong. It's getting your whole body strong, which is revolutionary in medicine. And it made me think of something. There's a lot of different things happening in regenerative medicine, and I think this is going to be part of the future of medicine, and stem cells is a big one. But what we're finding now, that it's actually not the stem cells that may be the most important thing, but there's something that sits on top of the stem cells called exosomes. And exosomes are these proteins that allow communication between the cells. And they actually can deliver content from one cell into another cell. So again, this to me is so profound because, again, it's about community. It's about connection. It's about getting our bones strong so that it teaches the rest of our body to be strong. It's about getting our body to be strong so it teaches our mind and our spirit and every other part of ourselves to be strong. So the second thing that I think is most important to stay healthy and strong and get healthy and strong is mindful and intelligent use of our technology. And again, Osteo Strong is a perfect example of that. I mean, the audience, you guys have been here. I mean, between the Juve and the equipment with the Osteo Strong and the biurnal patterns and the PEMPs, I mean, this is getting your body into a healing frequency. It's getting your body out of this sympathetic fight, flight, or freeze system into a parasympathetic state, which we need for healing. And we have a lot of drugs that can get us out of sympathetic, but we don't have any drugs that actually activate our parasympathetic. And I think this is where technology is going to start to really be a game changer for us. So I think there's a lot of amazing things that we're going to see from technology, but we also have to wake up and realize what technology is doing to us in the way that we're using it right now. There was, let me ask you a question. I'm going to steal this from Jim Quick. Does anybody in the audience know who Jim Quick is? Yeah, he's amazing. I would encourage you guys. He teaches people how to remember things and memory. He's an amazing. Check out his website. He's amazing. And so, guess the number of times the average person checks their Instagram. The average number of times a person checks Instagram daily.
100.
100? 21? 150 times a day. That's not even your email. That's an Instagram check. So if and you know, I know that I'm not checking at 100. So there are people out there on Instagram 24/7. If the average is 150. And so much of our brain fog and our adrenal exhaustion and our low libidos and erectile dysfunction and all these things that we're seeing are, yes, the toxins and the inflammation in our body, but it's also so many people are just distracted and go. I mean, it's an addiction. It's like, what's the next thing? And it's really keeping us in that fight, flight, or freeze sympathetic overdrive state that just is deteriorating our health. And there was a study that came out maybe a month ago that said children that spend an average of 7 hours of screen time a day, we're seeing thinning of the cerebral cortex. So this is changing our brains for the worse. This is dumbing us down. And unless we start to talk about this, and again, doctors have to do a better job, teachers have to do a better job, parents, individuals, we just as a culture have to wake up and take responsibility for what our behavior is doing and mindfully choose to do something different. So the third thing that I think is really important is to have more fun. And I think that that's one of the reasons why people are on their phones so much, is because we just don't know we're not given permission. You know, it's like there's so many demands on us of achieving things, and we're just not given permission to play more and to take a day off. And so what I tell my patients oftentimes, because and I know it too, we have to change before the circumstances allow. You need to book that vacation before you can actually afford it. Now, I'm not advising maxing out credit cards or acting irresponsibly, but there's a fine line between being able to say, you know what, I'm not checking emails on the weekend. I'm going to go for, I am really unplugging and I'm going to start to learn to have more fun. And Einstein had a quote and he said, I fear that our technology has surpassed our humanity. And I really feel we're at a tipping point right now where our humanity has a chance to catch up with our technology. And again, things like you're seeing here at Osteo Strong, the use of this type of technology can help us use our technology better. And I was at a conference up in Stanford and was very encouraged because I'm also it's even going to get more seductive. The iPhone is the tip of the iceberg. Instagram is the tip of the iceberg. Virtual reality, Ready Player One, Westworld, those worlds that reality is not that far around the corner. And so the seduction to never have to leave your house, to never actually have to have a real vulnerable feeling with somebody, there's going to be apps that you can have like chipped into the side of your face that can detect if someone's lying to you. Really? Which is kind of a cool thing, but it's also like, where is our own gut instinct? Where is that cultivation with our nature? And there is something about technology that we have got to be using it mindfully, because if we use it to escape our humanity, it's going to backfire on us. Already that thinning of the cerebral cortex, I think, is just the beginning. And if we start seeing people, zoned out in their homes with goggles on all day, that doesn't bode well. And again, we don't get the real, the risk of virtual reality is you really feel it's real. That's the thing. It's like you have all those endorphins, you feel it's real, but it's not. And so I think, again, we're at this point in our evolution right now that unless we start talking about the good and the bad of what's happening with technology and how to use it for the good, then we're going to get in trouble. But again, equipment like this, and then what I was mentioning is I was at a conference in Stanford, and these neuroscientists, I was so encouraged because they were really using technology for the good. They were looking at how do we use technology actually to stimulate centers of the brain that are aligned with compassion and well-being. And so I think, again, like OsteoStrong is replacing the bisphosphonates and the other osteoporosis medications, we're going to start to see technology replace Prozac and Ativan and other things like that. And I think that it's not just brain health. I think it's going to be organs. I think we're going to see technology being able to help us with cancer and heart disease. We're energy beings. All of our medical technology, whether it's an EKG or an MRI or a CAT scan, it's basically measuring different waves of energy in our body. And so the more sophisticated we become about understanding what frequencies keep us healthy and what frequencies are getting us sick, that's the wave of the future. And so to be able to use technology mindfully in this way, but then we've got to actually get out into nature. We've got to remember that we cannot outsmart nature. Nature has been here long before we have and will be here long before we leave. And there is an inherent wisdom in nature. And if we turn to nature to look for medicine, I think we'll find a lot of healing. And that's one of the things that I thought of when I was thinking about how do we find ways to play more, especially when you're sick. With my patients, they're like, yeah, if I could get out of bed, maybe that might be something I'd consider doing. But I remember, I don't know if any of you've seen The Color Purple, but there's a beautiful line in there, and this comes from Whoopi Goldberg's character, who by no means is in good situation. She was sold to a husband that verbally and physically abused her and told she was worthless, and she's walking through this gorgeous field of purple flowers, and she says, I really think it pisses God off when you walk by the color purple and don't notice it. And I don't know if it pisses him off, but I think he's like, come on. I'm giving you the color purple, you guys. And I really think that those are the sorts of things that we need to start with when we're starting to cultivate fun and play in our lives, is just looking up more and setting that intention for our day. I mean, Jim Quick also is famous for saying, the best thing you can do is not check your phone or your email for the first hour of the day. Give that to yourself so that you're not, he says, your inbox is an agenda for your life that other people have for you. I loved that, because we can just start chasing those emails, and then it's a 2-hour, draft of it sitting in our inbox that you keep going, and it's like, we need to step back from all of that and just start to really recognize the importance of seeing the color purple in our life, because this is where we start to cultivate that ability to have fun and to play. And there's been research that's done, and don't get me wrong, I think a healthy diet is vital and really important. But if you look at people that eat everything just perfectly, and people who just eat whatever they want to eat but have community and eat meals together and dance together and sing and have fun, and they have lives, and they're not sitting around the table on their iPhones, they're sitting around the table engaging with people, they have better health, they have better blood tests, they have longer lifespans. So if we can combine these two, this is really, really the future of medicine. So with that, I will open it to any questions that I may be able to answer from you guys.
I have a question.
Yes, yeah.
You mentioned about going up to Stanford and about frequency.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in frequency devices. I mean, we have a couple of them here, the pulse electromagnetic frequency, and then there's FSM.
Yes.
And all of these. Did they talk about frequency devices?
They did, and what they talked about was mostly in the research phase. And so I think these devices, I think the binaural patterns, I think the PEMF, I think the micro frequency currency, it's Carol McMakin's, I know her name. And then also transcranial magnetic stimulation is another one. There's a biofeedback machine called the OnDemed that is really impressive. This is out of Europe. A lot of the technology that's available here now is out of Europe, and a lot of it sort of you don't really talk about because it's so threatening to actually helping people. Some of the stuff that they were talking about, it isn't ready for prime time yet, but it was, so the vagus nerve, actually when you press on it, it was one of the things we learned in residency in the hospital. If somebody's blood pressure went up really high, you can press on the vagal nerve, and it activates your parasympathetic nervous system, so it can calm you down. So they were actually looking at using some sort of frequency inside of the ear, like externally, that stimulates the vagus nerve and activates the parasympathetic nervous system. Was one of the things that they were talking about. And then another thing that they were talking about was the use of this ultrasound. So transcranial magnetic stimulation, I don't know if any of you have heard about it, but it's very expensive, and it works in about 50% of people, but when it works great for refractory depression because it stimulates deep. Well, it's not as deep as it needs to get. That's why part of the reason it's only working on 50% of the people is it doesn't really go as deep as you need for real, true healing. So some of the stuff that they're doing is using some equipment to actually get to the deeper centers of the brain to really stimulate that state of well-being. So again, I found that super encouraging because I was like, if we feel good, we're not going to want to blow people up. We're not going to, we're not going to want to do harm with this technology. We're going to want to go out and hike, and we're going to want to go out and be in the sun. So, yeah, great question. Did you have a question? Yeah.
What are some of the most common inflammation triggers you see in the patients?
Yeah. So like I said,